I'm James from Perkins Life 4, and today's video is just going to be, I don't know what to call it, a get to know me, I guess, kind of explain my story on how I ended up where I'm at now. So I guess the best way to do this is kind of get right into it. I mean, for a while, this is not an oh poor me video or don't feel sorry for me video, because I'm perfectly fine with what happened. I would not change anything, because I am under the belief, and I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and if all that didn't happen to me when I was younger, then I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So let's get that out of the way real quick. So I guess first thing was, I was born in Denison, Texas, which is a small town in Texas, right there on the border of Texas and Oklahoma. And it's not small, not one of those tumbleweeds, and but it's smaller than most places. I was born on September the 11th, back in 1972. So that makes me old. No, I'm 47. I think that's what it is. So I mean, all that's there's a reason for all that. We lived about an hour and a half north of Dallas. Dallas is a pretty big city. So that's kind of, but we'll keep going here. I guess, so, see, I was born in Texas. Sorry, my memory takes a minute every once in a while. Okay, growing up, started, like most people, you start school. I started school, normal, just regular public school, and kindergarten was okay, not too bad. Started getting into first grade and all that, and started having problems. Started getting in trouble, not doing the work properly and all this, and, then it started getting after that, and in Texas, growing up in Texas, there's you get in trouble at school, they could whoop you with a paddle. And, back then, there's a fine line between whooping and beating at school. So my parents were strict. So anytime you got whooping at school, you had to bring a little note home that says you got a whooping. I'd get a whooping at home. Well, that kept going there for a while, because the school system said that I was lazy, not trying, and all that. So that made my parents angry. So I would get whooping at school, whooping at home, and then it turned into a whooping almost every day at school, and turned into a beating every day at home. Parents had an issue with, I guess I didn't explain that one earlier either, but I have two brothers. They are 6 years older than I am. They are twins. And they are smart. I mean, almost that genius smart, One brother right now works for a hospital, and he does all the computer systems for the hospital. He maintains them and takes care of them. The other brother is the smarter one out of the two. He actually travels the United States and Canada, and he is a judge for bridge tournaments. I didn't know that was a thing. But, I mean, he's smart. I mean, he went and got his college degree in, I don't know exactly what it's called, but some mathematics stuff. But he's got his doctorate in math. So, I mean, he's like real smart. But he likes bridge, and he got into that whole thing, and now he just travels everywhere and judges bridge. And that's that, card game bridge. So I came along, and I'm following this. So they already had their golden childs, and I was that black sheep in the family. So I didn't do so good in school. And so it was just a constant every day almost of getting in trouble at school for not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, not learning properly, or, missing spelling words or whatever, and I'd get beaten at school, then I'd get beaten at home, and it was just like that up until about third grade. Third grade, I've supposedly the phrase was I acted up so much, and I was not willing to learn. And there were other phrases brought in at this time of, being, an idiot and stupid and all this stuff. So I was pulled out of school, or not really pulled out of school. I was not allowed to go back to school. The school system refused to let me go back to school anymore. So at that point was when the severe beatings started. And that year was not good. I mean, there was a lot. It didn't matter. I sneezed the wrong way, I was beat. So I finally was put into they went and got me tested. And tested in a small town was, he has dyslexia and he needs to try harder and he needs to apply himself better. About this time, there was a lady that lived in the area that had 6, 7 of these adopted children that had Down syndrome, which is, Down syndrome. And she wanted to homeschool her kids, and it was very expensive. So what she ended up doing was she ended up starting a private school. And in this private school, the government would actually pay her to work with special needs children. So she also took in people from the outside. So I ended up getting stuck there and put into there. Also, there was other kids there that were not hers, and there was like 4 or 5 other kids. But they were the kids that were also been kicked out of school, but they were kicked out of school because of they were fighting, or they just didn't show up to school or something like that. They didn't have no issues. So I was lumped in together with those people that really didn't have no issues. We just didn't try hard enough. And she made money off of all of us also to run this school. Plus my parents had to pay money. A little portion of money for me to go there each month, which, that irritated the hell out of them, So, started going there. Went there up until I was about 15 years old. And it was rough. I mean, I was their solution at that school was probably abuse. I mean, they would be shut down and probably arrested for abuse right now if it was still there. We were beat. Paddles, sticks, belts, didn't matter. Then would come home, was beat, and I mean, bad. I mean, but anyways, I'm still working on some of that issues. But so we get past that. So about the age of 15, 16 years old, my dad, which works for the railroad at the time, the railroad got bought out by a bigger railroad, and we were transferred up to Omaha, Nebraska. Big city. It's like, oh cool, this is going to be nice. So we end up going up there, and first things first is, we're going to stick him in public school, because they had special schools there, but you're in a bigger city now, so it's way expensive. So I spent, I don't know what it was, a couple weeks going to this place and getting tested. And I don't know what was said when I was tested. I could just remember that, because, when they do these testings, they don't tell me. I mean, I'm only a 15-year-old kid. They tell my parents what they found. And I don't know what it is that they found, but they were not pleased with it, because for about, 6 months there, before I was able to start school again, the beatings got worse there for a while. They were mad every time I went to this thing and get tested, and it was an all-day thing that I had to go to. And I went to it for about 2 weeks. You go there and all day long, and all it was like testing and stuff. And it was just constant. When I come home, boy, I had to come home and go outside or get lost for the day or whatever, because when your dad would get home, boy, he'd be so upset about something. And, they would start. So then ended up starting high school. And basically it was just stuck into a special education class, and I went there, and it was just stuck in this room and it was all the disabled kids that got to go to high school. They didn't get the old regular classes. No, they shuffle them all into one little room, and they don't really do nothing with you. I mean, there was nothing being done that day. I mean, really to do schoolwork or anything like that. So that I couldn't take that anymore, so I stopped going. After about, that year was up, and the summer came, and, it was so-so, spent most of my time gone. Friends, I'd made friends there, so most of the time gone. But school started back up again, and here we go again, same thing, nothing, didn't change. So I stopped going. Well, that only lasted about 3 weeks, and school ended up finally calling up and said, hey, is your kid all right? He's not been here. Well, that night wasn't pretty. Dad came home, and that was the very last time he tried to beat me, because it didn't work. You got to figure by this time I'm already 6'1", already over 250. I've been a big guy all my life, so I was already a pretty good sized boy there. So, and my dad's only 5'10". So that's the last time he tried to beat me. And I moved out that day too. And I was on my own. So, luckily at that time I had friends that were old enough that already had an apartment. So I moved in with them. got a job just working as a dishwasher in a kitchen. And for the next, I don't know how many years, 20 years, I think it was, I worked in the restaurant business. Loved it. I had a special skill, I guess. For some reason with cooking, I could do it really good, slowly started from kitchen or dishwashing, went to prep. After prep, went to line cook and all this, At that point in time, I met a girl at the end, and after a few years, ended up getting married. And about that time I was promoted to kitchen manager. Well, that was a good thing and a bad thing at the time, because what most people didn't realize at this time is I was lying and cheating my whole way through this system and faking my way through a lot of stuff, because I can't read or write. I just can't do it. But so at this time, what it is, the only people that knew at that time was, I don't know, my family might have known, but my wife knew. I got married, she knew this. Well, she helped me out where if I needed something written down or I needed to have something read to me or something like that, we lived so close to work that she would stop by and visit me and help me out real quick. So I, made it through that way for a good 5 years or so, and got to the point where it got slipped out or known that I was not able to read or write. But I've done so good of a job at that job that they kept me there, and I was able to do it. Eventually, some new managers kind of came in and all this, and I started getting demoted down and all that, and I was like, no, I'm done. So I ended up leaving that job, and I went into, after that I went into construction. Because you got to figure, when you can't read or write, all you can do is grunt work. That's all you can do is manual labor. So then the rest of it, I did manual labor, and which worked out good for me too, because along with cooking, construction, I'm really good with being shown how to do something and being able to copy it instantly. Plus I had the sides behind me, so I was able to do a lot of the harder work that most people couldn't. I could carry more and lift more and stuff like that. So, but the downfall of that is then I started taking a toll on my body and stuff. It started, back problems and leg problems and all this stuff, but wasn't so bad then. So I just kept going at it because there was nothing else I could do. So then, back in about, about 2000, I was on a roof fixing some shingles. It was a 3-story high roof, and underneath my feet, shingles came out from underneath me, and I fell off the roof and messed my leg up. Didn't break nothing, but I tore ligaments, muscles. I bruised everything, bone marrow. I bruised it all. It was all messed up. My leg went from like this size to that size. So I was bedridden for about 6 months, and then I had about a year of therapy getting back to walk and all that, and I still have problems with my leg now. But that's when that marriage started going. I didn't know why. I know why now. Because, and I can tell you why now, it went bad was I was, my ex was just kind of like my parents. Or, I don't know, she didn't beat me, nothing like that. No. But she was a abuser. She verbally abused me, and she mentally abused me. And I didn't know this, because just the way I am is I'm all about trying to make somebody happy as part of my condition that I have. So what happened is I was doing everything. I mean, I worked. I'd come home and I'd clean. I would do all the cooking. I did everything, and I felt that there was nothing wrong with that, you know, because I'm a pleaser. That's what I do. That's part of my condition that I have. So me being bedridden, and now for 6 months she had to take care of me, didn't work. So I got to 6 months of bedridden, and then about another, I don't know, I think I made it through about 3 to 6 months of being able to learn to walk better, you know, because I was still walking. I had to walk with a cane and everything. Right about then, when I started being able to walk pretty decent, I still had a lot more therapy to go, is when she decided that was it. She was done. I'm like, okay, fine, you know. And at this time, you know, for the last, I don't know, year or two, we started talking to my parents, because, you know, and I'm going to skip stuff and have to go back a few times on the story because it just pops in my head. So, you know, I didn't talk to my parents when I left the house and all that, but about, 2 years before, about a year before I married her, we started talking to my parents, and we got a pretty decent relationship where we saw them and stuff like that. But then once we got my divorce and that went through, my parents went right back to the same old stuff. Is at that point in time, it was like she was their kid and I was the ex. Still to this day, I do not talk to my parents. Still to this day, she talks to them daily. And I've been divorced from her for 15 years. But it's like she's the daughter now and I'm just the old bad ex, So that went, and I ended up finally recovering and getting me another job, and I ended up working at a nursing home as doing maintenance, and I remodeled apartments. The nursing home I worked for had a big building and it had a bunch of apartments, and that's what I did. Is I was a remodeler and I was apartments, and the only reason why I got that job is one of the people I used to work with at the restaurant knew me, and I still talked to him, and suggested to me to go see this guy that was head of the maintenance department. And I talked to him. What I didn't know, though, is he'd already explained to this guy that I was not book smart, and which I'm, not, So the guy already knew this, and the guy's like one of these things where he didn't care. He just wanted to know if I could, swing a hammer or build stuff, So I got my week trial of how to do it and did it really good. So I was there for a long time. Well, during that time, of course, met another person, which only lasted about, I was with her, I was only with her for a few years, but she was very verbally abusive and all that too. I didn't know. It just happened. And finally, it was one of those things where, I couldn't take it no more. It was